The departure of a pope from this earthly realm sets in motion a meticulously choreographed sequence of events within the Catholic Church, a process steeped in centuries of tradition and imbued with profound spiritual significance. This step-by-step unfolding ensures not only a seamless transition of leadership but also a period of solemn remembrance and prayerful discernment as the global community of over 1 billion Catholics awaits the selection of their next spiritual guide. Let us embark on a detailed exploration of the intricate procedures that commence immediately following the passing of the Holy Father. 1. Confirmation of death. The very genesis of this carefully defined process lies in the unequivocal confirmation that the Pope has indeed passed away. This weighty responsibility is entrusted to a key figure within the Vatican's hierarchical structure, the Camerlengo, also known as the Chamberlain of the Holy Roman Church. This cardinal assumes a unique and pivotal role during the Sede Vacante, the interregnum or vacant see period. Traditionally, the confirmation involves a deeply personal and somewhat archaic ritual, a final, tender acknowledgement of the Pontiff's earthly existence. The Camerlengo approaches the late Pope and gently calls out his baptismal name, the name given to him at the very beginning of his life in faith, not just once, but 3 times. This practice, deeply rooted in ancient customs and perhaps echoing biblical narratives, serves as a final, poignant attempt to rouse the departed from his slumber. Only after these 3 solemn, unanswered calls does the Camerlengo formally and officially declare the Pope deceased, a pronouncement that marks the commencement of the complex and multifaceted transition period for the Catholic Church. This initial moment underscores the delicate balance between the immense power of the papacy and the fundamental human experience of mortality. 2. Destruction of the Fisherman's Ring. Following the solemn and official confirmation of the Pope's death, another highly symbolic and practically crucial act takes place, the ceremonial destruction of the Fisherman's Ring. This distinctive ring, a tangible emblem of the Pope's authority, bears the iconic image of St. Peter, the first Pope, casting his net from a boat, a powerful representation of the Church's mission to gather souls. The Fisherman's Ring serves as the personal signet of the reigning Pope, used to authenticate and seal official documents, decrees, and letters issued during his pontificate, lending them the full weight of his office and spiritual authority. The task of ritually breaking this significant ring falls once again to the Camerlengo. This act is carried out in the presence of other high-ranking cardinals, who serve as witnesses to the formal end of the deceased Pope's direct temporal authority and the symbolic transfer of power. The destruction of the ring is not merely a symbolic gesture. It is also a practical measure, meticulously designed to prevent any possibility of its fraudulent or unauthorized misuse during the Sede Vacante, the period between the death of one pope and the election of his successor. Furthermore, this act carries a profound symbolic weight, signifying the conclusion of that particular pope's earthly reign and the temporary suspension of the full papal authority until the Holy Spirit guides the College of Cardinals to elect a new leader for the Church. 3. Official announcement. Once the Pope's death has been formally and irrevocably confirmed and the Fisherman's Ring has been ceremonially destroyed, the Vatican proceeds with the official public announcement of the Pontiff's passing to the world. This announcement is not just an internal matter for the Catholic Church, it is a significant global event, informing the hundreds of millions of Catholic faithful across the globe, as well as people of all faiths and no faith, of the vacancy at the very apex of one of the world's oldest and most influential institutions. The manner in which this announcement is disseminated has evolved significantly with the advent of modern communication technologies. While in centuries past, news might have traveled slowly through messengers and word of mouth, today it typically involves immediate and widespread dissemination through official Vatican press releases, social media platforms, and the Vatican's extensive network of media outlets, ensuring that the information reaches every corner of the world with unprecedented speed. Traditionally, however, the news of a pope's death was often accompanied by more tangible and deeply felt signs of mourning within Vatican City and the city of Rome itself. The great bells of St. Peter's Basilica may toll somberly, their deep, resonant peals echoing the gravity and solemnity of the moment throughout the city. Additionally, traditional mourning customs are observed, which can include the lowering of flags to half-staff in Vatican City and at Catholic institutions, such as churches, schools, and hospitals, around the world, visually representing the collective period of sorrow, remembrance, and prayer for the departed pontiff. For 9 days of mourning, following the official public announcement of the Pope's passing, the Catholic Church observes a significant and deeply spiritual period of official mourning that extends for 9 consecutive days, a tradition known as the Novemdiales. This period is a time of intense prayer, reflection, and collective remembrance for the soul of the departed Pope. During these 9 days, special and solemn masses are offered daily for the repose of his soul, beseeching divine mercy and the granting of eternal rest. In accordance with tradition, the body of the late Pope is carefully prepared, often through embalming, and then displayed in the majestic and awe-inspiring St. Peter's Basilica. This public exposition, known as lying in state, allows the faithful, not only those residing in Rome but also pilgrims and mourners traveling from every corner of the globe, to pay their final respects, offer personal prayers, and venerate the deceased pontiff for the last time before his burial. The lines of mourners waiting to file past the Pope's body can often stretch for miles around the Vatican, a powerful testament to the deep respect, profound affection, and spiritual connection held by millions worldwide for the man who served as their spiritual leader. This period of public viewing is not merely a formal observance, it is a significant cultural and religious event, providing a space for collective grief, shared remembrance, and a sense of communal closure for the vast global community who look to the Pope as their shepherd and guide. 5. Burial. The solemn and deeply symbolic culmination of the initial 9-day mourning period is the burial of the late Pope. Tradition dictates that the pontiff is typically laid to rest in the sacred crypt located beneath the magnificent St. Peter's Basilica, the very heart and spiritual epicenter of the Catholic Church. This final resting place connects the deceased Pope not only with the earthly remains of his most immediate predecessors but also with the long and unbroken line of popes stretching back to St. Peter himself, symbolizing the enduring continuity of the papacy and the unbroken chain of apostolic succession. The burial ceremony itself is a carefully orchestrated and deeply reverent event, often involving the participation of high-ranking members of the clergy, heads of state, and other international dignitaries who come to pay their final respects. In accordance with long-standing tradition, the Pope's body is not placed in a single coffin, but rather in a series of 3 nested coffins, each made of different materials and carrying its own symbolic significance. The innermost coffin is typically crafted from simple cypress wood, chosen to symbolize humility, simplicity, and the Pope's return to the earth. This wooden coffin is then placed inside a hermetically sealed lead coffin, designed to preserve the remains for posterity. Finally, the lead coffin is encased within another, often more ornate, outer wooden coffin. This triple burial reflects both profound spiritual considerations and practical measures for the long-term preservation of the pontiff's remains. While the established tradition is burial within the Vatican crypt, it is not unheard of for a pope to have expressed a personal desire to be buried elsewhere, perhaps in a church or location holding particular significance for him. Such requests are typically honored with due reverence and adherence to church law. 6. Sede Vacante, a vacant see. With the solemn burial of the Pope, the Catholic Church officially enters a unique and canonically defined period known as Sede Vacante, a Latin term that literally translates to "the see is vacant." During this interregnum, a specific and temporary set of circumstances governs the operational framework of the Catholic Church. The full, ordinary, and supreme governance of the Church, which normally resides in the person of the Pope, is essentially paused. The College of Cardinals, as a collective body, while assuming significant responsibilities during this time, does not possess the authority to make major doctrinal pronouncements, enact sweeping new policies, or alter existing church law. Instead, the day-to-day routine administrative matters and essential functions of the Vatican bureaucracy are handled by the Camerlengo, who takes on a particularly prominent role, and a small, designated group of cardinals who head the various key offices and dicasteries within the Roman Curia. This temporary suspension of the Church's full governing capacity is a deliberate and carefully designed measure, intended to prevent any single individual cardinal or faction within the college from unduly influencing the direction or future of the Church before the Holy Spirit guides the entire body of cardinal electors in the selection of a new pope. The Sede Vacante is therefore a period characterized by both solemn anticipation and fervent prayer, as the Church collectively prepares to discern and choose its next spiritual leader, guided by the belief in the Holy Spirit's inspiration. Critically, no new appointments of significant figures within the Church hierarchy can be made during this time, underscoring the temporary and caretaker nature of the administrative arrangements in place until a new pontiff assumes the full Petrine ministry. 7. Preparation for the Conclave. As the period of Sede Vacante progresses, the College of Cardinals, the body of electors responsible for choosing the next pope, begins to converge upon Rome from their various dioceses and assignments across the globe. These cardinals, who hold the profound and sacred duty of discerning and electing the successor to St. Peter, gather to engage in prayer, reflection, and informal discussions concerning the needs and challenges facing the Church in the contemporary world, and to prayerfully consider who among them might be best suited to assume the weighty responsibilities of the papacy. Church law meticulously dictates a specific timeframe for the commencement of the conclave, the solemn assembly convened for the express purpose of the papal election. The conclave must begin no sooner than 15 days following the death of the Pope, allowing sufficient time for all eligible cardinals to travel to Rome and for the initial period of mourning and associated rites to be appropriately completed. However, to prevent an unduly prolonged vacancy, the conclave must also begin no later than 20 days after the Pope's passing. A crucial and significant aspect of participation in the conclave is the strict age restriction imposed by Church law. Only those cardinals who have not yet reached the age of 80 on the day the papacy officially becomes vacant are eligible to enter the conclave and participate in the voting process. This rule, established by Pope Paul VI in 1970 and reaffirmed by subsequent popes, reflects a desire to ensure that the cardinal electors are generally considered to be in good health, possessing the mental acuity and physical stamina necessary to undertake the demanding and spiritually taxing task of electing a new leader for the global Catholic Church. 8. The conclave, the very heart and culmination of the process, is the conclave itself, a deeply private, intensely spiritual, and historically significant assembly held within the hallowed walls of the Sistine Chapel, located within the Vatican. This iconic chapel, renowned for its breathtaking frescoes painted by Michelangelo, depicting scenes from the Book of Genesis and the Last Judgment, becomes the temporary home and the sacred voting chamber for the cardinal electors. Absolute and unwavering secrecy is of paramount importance during the entire duration of the conclave. The cardinal electors are sequestered, meaning they are formally locked in and completely cut off from any communication or contact with the outside world. This strict isolation is a time-honored tradition, meticulously designed to prevent any form of undue influence, pressure, or interference from external forces, be they political, social, or media-driven, on the cardinal electors as they prayerfully discern God's will in choosing the next pope. The voting process continues in rounds, typically held twice in the morning and twice in the afternoon of each day within the conclave. A cardinal candidate is not considered elected pope until he receives a supermajority of at least 2/3 of the votes cast by the assembled cardinal electors. This high threshold for election, requiring a substantial consensus among the electors, aims to ensure a broad and unified support for the chosen successor of St. Peter. Once, through the secret balloting process, a cardinal finally receives the necessary 2/3 majority, the dean of the College of Cardinals, or the senior cardinal in order of precedence if the dean is over the age of 80 and thus ineligible to vote, approaches the elected cardinal and poses the pivotal and historically charged question in Latin: do you accept your canonical election as Supreme Pontiff? If the elected cardinal, after prayerful consideration and acceptance of God's will, responds with a simple but profoundly significant accepto, I accept, his acceptance is immediate, irrevocable, and marks the moment he assumes the full Petrine ministry. Following his affirmative response, he is then asked by the dean what papal name he wishes to take, the name by which he will be known, addressed, and remembered throughout his pontificate, a name often chosen for its symbolic connection to previous popes or patron saints. 9. The new pope is announced. The eagerly awaited and globally significant culmination of the conclave is the public announcement of the election of the new pope. This historic declaration is made from the central balcony of St. Peter's Basilica, a location instantly recognizable around the world as the stage for some of the most pivotal moments in the history of the Catholic Church. The distinct honor of making this momentous announcement falls to the Cardinal Protodeacon, the senior cardinal deacon within the College of Cardinals. He steps out onto the balcony, overlooking the vast expanse of St. Peter's Square filled with expectant crowds and the countless cameras of global media, and proclaims the long-awaited news in the traditional Latin formula, Habemus Papam. We have a pope. Following this joyful and historic declaration, the Cardinal Protodeacon then announces to the world the given name of the newly elected pope, his name before becoming pope, and the chosen papal name by which he will now be known and addressed as the spiritual leader of the Catholic Church. The level of anticipation among the gathered crowds in St. Peter's Square, and the millions more watching the events unfold via television and the internet across the globe, reaches its absolute peak as the newly elected pope then makes his first public appearance on the balcony. His first official act as the Supreme Pontiff is to impart his first Urbi et Orbi blessing, a traditional Latin phrase meaning to the city of Rome and to the world. This solemn and deeply symbolic blessing signifies the new Pope's assumption of his universal spiritual leadership over the Catholic Church and his inaugural message of peace, hope, and reconciliation to all of humanity. The successful election and subsequent announcement of a new pope mark not only the formal end of the Sede Vacante, the period of the vacant see, but also the dawn of a new chapter in the long and continuing history of the Catholic Church, as the faithful worldwide turn with hope and anticipation to their newly chosen shepherd.